Hey everyone, this is Derrick Broze with the Conscious Resistance Network and Activist Post. I'm here at Anarchapulco 2017 for day 2, and I just had the pleasure of hearing speak for the first time in person and meet now Mr. Max Igan. How are you doing, brother?
Good, brother. Thank you very much for
I
asking me to come speak.
I'm in love with your work because I feel like it's a reflection of my own and many others who are focused on solutions, focusing on what's the next stage, where are we going from the point we're at now. We can talk all day about the problems and the statism and the authoritarianism and all the division that takes place, and it's always refreshing to find those who understand that it's not only a battle in the majority of it, I would say, is not in the physical realm, that there's this whole other level to what we're dealing with here, and to see that and to be focused on solutions. It's refreshing, and I appreciate that. And today, I guess I just wanted to get into a few different topics in your talk that were brought up and mentioned, and I'll start with the most controversial before we bring it to the more personal related to you, and that is the topic of PizzaGate, which is something that myself as a independent freelance investigative journalist, I am always willing to cover the controversial topics, especially whenever you feel this pushback in these certain areas. But I will admit, it took me about a month or so after just hearing this word PizzaGate going around and this and that, until I was like, all right, I'm ready to open up. Let me just sit down, and I made a post on Facebook saying, okay, I'm ready to look into PizzaGate. Give me your best evidence debunking it or showing me where to look at, etc. And of course, I was overwhelmed by people who were really hot on the trail of it by that point. And I ended up doing a video report of my own, just pointing out 2 different areas that I think are probably the strongest, especially for the skeptical. And then we've seen people, journalist Ben Swan, who I've worked with a few times, and he's got his reality check segment down in CBS Atlanta on a mainstream station for all intents and purposes, a local station, and he covers PizzaGate. The next day, gets attacked across all the different media. They got pictures of him with a tinfoil hat on. Then he all of a sudden announces he's taking down his social media accounts a lot. So there's this pushback. There's people who said they've been threatened once they started to look into certain areas. In your research and for you, I know you mentioned some of the work that you've been drawn to, but what's the strongest point for you? Beyond just that we got the Hillary Clinton emails that are pointing at something. What do you feel is most indicative of this pedophile ring existing, or multiple pedophile rings existing around the world?
Well, look, through my own research, I've discovered it. I know people that work in family services in Australia who've identified at least 20,000 children a year being smuggled into Queensland. But to say where is the evidence? What can we show people? The Clinton emails are very, very good evidence, because everything we've been saying and everything that was suggested in PizzaGate is actually in the Clinton emails. It shows just how all pervasive this is. The problem is with PizzaGate is the focus on the pizza store. And I did a show about this where I said, look, watch the psyop aspects of this, because the undue focus on the pizza store is going to bring it all undone. And people are saying, you're trying to cover up pedophilia then. It is left and right, left and right, left and right. There's always controlled opposition to this. But the focus on the pizza store just turns into an attack against a small business. And you suddenly focus on this James Alefantis and not on the pedophile ring. You might think you're focused on the pedophile ring with him, but you're not. You've got to understand that if this guy has got connections to the White House, well, this just confirms the existence of this global pedophile ring, so can we find more? And then you can start looking at the Clinton emails, and you can start looking at so many people who've brought these stories out over the years and have said, I was involved, I escaped, mind control, child slavery, sex slaves, the Kathy O'Brien stuff. There's so much stuff, so many people over the years that have said this is going on.
Yeah.
And everyone said, no, it's just too dark, it couldn't be. Well, there it is in Hillary Clinton's own hand in her emails. And with the connections with the companies, when you look at the connections with the Clinton emails, it basically exposes this network which is manufacturing war all around the world and basically harvesting resources from countries. But when you follow the connection further and keep pulling on the threads, you find out that one of the main resources that they're harvesting from these countries is people, and mainly children and women. And the men are sent to work, or organs are harvested, but the children are shipped all around the world to be used in rituals and whatever, and the women are usually sold into prostitution and all sorts of stuff like that. So it's real, it's true, and this pedophile network is happening. What we're living in is a people farm. We really are. We're being farmed. There's a huge network of very, very dark people who are committing the most horrendous atrocities all the time. Just recently in Bulgaria, no, not in Bulgaria, in Denmark or Norway, one of the two countries, there was a pedophile ring exposed. Denmark, 52 people or something arrested, and you find 30 of them are police officers. And the other 22 are all members of parliament and stuff, and all lawyers and connections to this sort of stuff. And there's videos there of children strapped to walls, children being raped by German shepherds, and we're talking 6-year-old kids, 5 and 6-year-old kids and stuff. This is what's going on. This is what's going on right around the world, and it's all pervasive. There's so many means that they do this of entrapment and brownstone operations, getting people involved in sex crimes and all sorts of stuff. So there's so many ways of getting handles on people, and it's just this slippery slope that once you start getting into breaking a few rules and you realise you can get away with it and you realise that everybody else is doing it, it just snowballs, and this is what you end up with. But it's going on behind the scenes, and until we address that, it doesn't matter what sort of remedy we look for. With all of this whole truth freedom movement, it doesn't matter whether it's Bitcoin, doesn't matter whether it's Ubuntu, doesn't matter whether it's the Thrive movement, doesn't matter what it is, if we do not address what is causing this problem and what these people are up to, and we step into our moral compass to call it out, it isn't going to lead anywhere.
I agree.
That is
100%.
the only way to remedy. And we have to step into our moral compass, and if we do that, we don't need any other system. We don't need any movement, because the world has to change around us organically. You look at it, it has to. If everyone started doing the right thing and all they do, then how can evil exist? When we identify it, call it out and address it. Don't be politically correct about it. Political correctness is a form of tyranny. It's making people shut up and not say what they actually think.
I appreciate what you said there, as far as it seems like once, because the trick seems to be you get your foot in the door, maybe you think you're going to go into politics and change things or something. Someone kind of lets a little bribe slide here or there, or they get them involved in, maybe they have a prostitute, they get some dirt on them, so in case they ever turn against the syndicate, they can be released and revealed.
It happens all the time, and that's how they do it. They're called brownstone operations. They're constant. And what they do is they'll send someone into a country with $10,000 and say, okay, take over the country. How do you do it? You get the really rich, influential people, go out, buy them a few drinks, and then you get a prostitute for them. She might be 18, and the next one you get is 16, the next one's 14. And they don't know it, and become friends, and then you get them in a room where they're filmed, having sex with a 14-year-old girl, or even better still, a 14-year-old boy. Then they're yours. You've got them. You've got them. They're in your pocket. Then you say to them, okay, what you do is you find 8 people below you, politicians, and you go out and you get them drunk, and you get them involved, and you film them having sex with a 14-year-old girl, and then you got all of them. And then you get the heads of the police, and you do it with them. You only need a couple of people. They've just got to be in key positions. And then you've got this stuff on them. And they do this by crushing our sexuality in this society. I mean, sex is as natural as sleeping, eating, or breathing. It's something that we all do, but we don't talk about it. It's taboo, it's nasty. So people bottle up all their thoughts. They put sexy people in front of them all the time, but don't think dirty thoughts, you're a pervert. So it creates this schism in human consciousness, so they want to run off and do all these and take out all these pent-up frustrations from all these dirty movies and porn and stuff that they're watching. So it's really easy to trap people into these situations. Just a pretty young girl comes along, and you had a few drinks, and she's 18, and the next night it's another pretty young girl. You don't know that maybe she's 16 this time, and then you don't know that she's maybe 14 the next time. And that's the way it goes, and that's the way they do it. And it's tried and true. They have whole rooms set up to do this. Jerry Epstein with his island, Lolita Express, they had the whole place set up to do this. Take politicians out there and entrap them, and they're yours. That's the way it's done.
So let's shift a little from Pizzagate. First, I want to say I really like the way you put it, as far as, you get involved in one crime and it progressively gets worse, and it's sort of as if, not only the literal harvesting of organs and harvesting of people, but harvesting this energy through each of us. It's like darkening the soul and the morality, the moral compass of the person, to the point where things become more acceptable. Okay, well, I guess I'll accept this now, I'll accept this. And they're able to sort of lose their, I would say, their ability to empathize and have compassion with the public at large. So they begin to believe their own bullshit and think that, they deserve this, or we should be ruling the world, or we should be holding power over them. Now I want to shift to, I think, what's more important than even those topics. But of course, like you said, call out evil when we see it, and call out the state and all the crimes when we see it. But the journey towards self-discovery, self-exploration, self-healing, self-love is monumentally important in what we're doing, the freedom movement, the whatever movement you want to call it out there, just the quest for truth and for freedom. Without that understanding, and I would say without a certain assessment of your own insecurities, your own doubts, your own fears, and knowing who you are and your limits, and as you said earlier, knowing the darkness within yourself as well, your own shadow. If you don't know those things, you really can't understand what freedom means for you and what that means and what are your principles and what are you interested in, what do you value. And when you don't step into that point and seek deeper knowledge, the state, the media, you can be easily swayed and manipulated. And I do believe meditation, psychedelic therapy through things like ayahuasca or maybe psilocybin and other forms of just deep meditation and self-introspection, reflection are absolutely essential to that. So your experience on that, your thoughts on pushing that as part of the movements that we're involved in?
I think I don't know if they're essential, but I think they're highly beneficial. I think ayahuasca is highly beneficial, and even when you look at ayahuasca, the reason the shamans have come out of the jungle and brought this to the world is because they've realised that Western culture needs a crash course in reality. These people need to reconnect to the earth and do it quickly, otherwise Western culture is going to destroy the world. The way ayahuasca works in traditional situations is if you're sick, you go to see the shaman and he drinks the medicine. And he communes with the spirits, and then he tells you what you need to do to fix up the mental stuff that you did and all the energetic bullshit that you did in your life that created this problem. And it might be something like, go back to that hill and put that rock back where you did it and put this other stuff back that you messed up. And this tree here has volunteered to be your medicine, so I'll pick some and I'll mix it up into a potion and drink that and go and do those things I said and you'll get better. And they would. That's the way it used to work, because it's all energetic.
Yeah.
But I think it's incredibly important, our moral compass and changing what's in here is incredibly important. That's where all the change is going to come. And if we change that, like I said, we don't have to change anything else. Mm. So it is monumentally important. And that's why they brought this medicine out. It's... Excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold from the jungle, but it's not for everybody. Admittedly, it's not for everybody.
Absolutely.
And the problem people are having with things like ayahuasca is once they go and experience that reality, they're having a very, very difficult time reintegrating back into society, which is understandable. As Jiddu Krishnamurti said, it's no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society.
Absolutely. And
people see it for what it is. And so that's a good thing. It can be confronting for them, but it's a good thing, That's where change is going to come, when people wake back up to reality. So I think it is incredibly important. Yeah.
Absolutely. I've only had one direct Aya experience. The others were more experimentation with DMT, and mostly my experience in that sort of world has been deep meditations with.
Well, that's the thing is that's the first thing I got in my very first ayahuasca ceremony. Is the mother told me you don't need to drink to come here and do this all the time. I'm always here. The spirit is always there, the energy is always there, and you can always connect with the mother. You can always connect with the nature spirit of this living earth that we live on, and she said that to me, and that really, really stuck in my mind. So meditation is incredibly beneficial. The problem is we've had all this controlled opposition, such as the New Age movement, which takes all of these great meditational stuff and then wraps you up in a little ball of spiritual narcissism and inaction where you refuse to look at the negative.
Absolutely.
And so these people actually live in their enlightened state, in a state of fear of looking at the shadow. So what are they projecting? Enlightenment is a destructive process. Enlightenment has nothing to do with becoming a better person or being all warm and fuzzy. Enlightenment is a breaking down of everything you believe to be true, and it's incredibly confrontational.
Absolutely.
And people need to look at that when they're going on this path of enlightenment, and sitting there being all meditating and rah and thinking that it's all good because I'm ignoring it is not good. If you really go into proper meditation, you'll find that shadow's there, and by acknowledging that shadow and seeing just how dark it is, that gives you the ability to face it in the world. So
absolutely. I definitely agree that there are elements of the New Age movement, for lack of a better term, that whether it's controlled opposition or again people's own fear driving them, where they're like, there's a separation. And so with my work, I've personally tried to in my life back in Houston, I run in these sort of spiritual meditation conscious circles, but then also as an activist, as an anarchist, and as a journalist. And for a long time, the worlds were separate. And ultimately, I had to merge them together. But I realized that, on both sides, I'm hanging out with some of these anarchists, but they're atheists. They don't want to hear about anything, beyond what they can smell, see, taste in the physical five sense world. So they're not, ayahuasca, whatever. You're having some chemical reaction, meditation, whatever. You're just a hippie. And the other side, they're like, I don't want to hear about that philosophy, or I don't want to hear about what the state's doing, because it's just, it's too negative. So my goal has been to take the best of both of this understanding of the physical world and the world beyond that, and bring it together and see that there is value in both, but you can't, like you said, you can't ignore what's happening.
It's okay to disagree on things. It's okay, but if we've got the common focus of establishing freedom and emancipation from slavery, it shouldn't matter what you believe. It shouldn't matter what doctrine you choose to follow or what anybody else chooses to follow. It should be okay.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing with the controlling hand, is that they all do different stuff. They all believe different things. They follow different gods. They do different stuff. But they don't care. They don't judge each other by their beliefs, because they're all focused on achieving one thing, which is slavery for the entire human species. And they're quite happy to work to achieve that. They don't care about what differences anybody has. Whereas us, in our response, we're all busy bickering about each other. Oh, I got this idea, and you don't agree with me, so I'm going to fight and argue with you about it. And we're not really looking and going forward. We don't have that common focus. We need to get that. It's important. It really is.
One last question on the ayahuasca, and then I want to move to a topic that I think we both have another commonality in. And I just would like your thoughts, if you've done any reading or just have any input on the discussion around the idea of ayahuasca tourism. Is the idea that the medicine could at some point become unsustainable, or the amount of tourism that's being built around it by the Western world discovering it, and the flooding of people coming down to the jungles could lead to a depletion of the necessary materials that are for the medicine, and also those who, I think you kind of hinted at earlier, come down, have an ayahuasca session, and then they write a bunch of books. They've got things all figured out or whatever. What do this sort of almost another form of colonization of this medicine?
There's a certain element of neo-shamanism that goes on, but within the jungle, there's a lot of ayahuasca grown in the jungle, and I know tribes such as the Yawanawa people who plant all the time. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of planting that goes on, so they're aware that there's a lot being depleted, a lot being pulled out, so they're planting a lot, and that's really good to see. But there is a lot there, and it doesn't take a lot to really make medicine, so I think we're pretty safe there. As far as the tourism, I mean, there is a lot of that. There's a lot of dark elements that go along with that as well, and even in ceremonies, I would suggest that the mother spirit of the plant is not happy that this is happening. Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of people that are promoting that sort of stuff and been getting a lot of things going wrong in their life, so she'll take care of it. She really does take care of these things. So it's good that there's people going and doing the medicine. Yeah. Just be careful with what you're getting involved in, and a lot of what I'm seeing in the West. Some of the big ayahuasca things in America, like I've heard that there's people take you to big rooms and put on disco lights and stuff. I mean, this is not good. This is not good. I really believe it should be done in the jungle. I've had the most profound experiences in the jungle, where it comes from.
And I agree with that. I mean, to be frank, and while we're speaking about Anarchapulco, like I told Jeff when we were talking about speaking, I said, well, I'd love to speak if I can, voice my opinion about two issues, and if you're okay with that, then, I'm good. And one of them was that I said, I'm not comfortable in the way that the ayahuasca is being promoted at the conference. I feel like it's out of touch with the medicine. And I'm not necessarily maybe the jungle. I agree that definitely a nature setting and something like that. To me, it felt like it was. And again, I'm glad people are pursuing the medicine, because that's a positive net. But
I had those thoughts as well. Last year, I was very concerned at them doing ceremony at the top of a high-rise. I thought this is really, you're so disconnected from the earth there. But they got a shaman came in, a proper shaman, and he came in, he cleared everybody out of the room, and he spent an hour going around the room and clearing all the energy in the room. And he took it very, very seriously, and he seemed to do his job very well. And everybody that I spoke to the next day after that ceremony said they had a fantastic experience. So I think a lot of it is going to be in the spirit of the plant. Yeah. And if they've got the right shaman who's got the right intention and can hold space in that sort of an environment, I don't think there'll be a problem. It's the neo-shamans that they get in. It's the white gringo shaman and all these sorts of
plastic
people.
Shaman.
This is not good. This is really not good. But if they get proper shipibo in, or a proper server who's ordained to do this, I don't think there'll be a problem. I think the spirit of the plant is extremely powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she will put people where they need to go. And if it's something like that going on, you probably find a lot of people won't even get anything out of it. I'd say. I mean, I know people that have drank all the time, and you can drink and not get anything at all, and the person next to you can have a smaller dose than you and have the best experience of their life. So she gives you what you need.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think she's smart enough to probably deal with this sort of situation.
That's great to hear. So the last topic I wanted to get into is the Full Circle project. And I was telling you earlier, I was introduced to your work several different ways, but when it comes to the Full Circle project, someone reached out to me, heard me talking about what I call freedom cells, and said, hey, we've got a platform that we think is great for this. We've been working with Max Igan on his project, and so it seems like we're working on a similar goal, at least with bringing people together in smaller groups, trying to organize locally. I'd like to give you a chance to talk about the Full Circle project, your involvement with that idea, and where it's at now.
It's an idea, really, that like I created the Full Circle project and then ran into Matt, and he showed me his Community Connect, and I thought, this is great, it's exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to create a project that I don't have to manage. You just put it there and it manages itself. You know, everybody that I speak to, basically, well, a lot of people I speak to around the world say, look, I'm awake, I'm aware, I've got no one to talk to. I want to get involved, I want to do something. And I say, well, form a local action group. How do you find people? Go to the Community Connector.
Yes.
Look for people in your area and then form at least a support group. So you've got meetings on a Monday night or something, so you're at least talking with people. And then see what you can do, what action you can start taking on your ground. On the ground where you live, whether you're just waking the neighbours up or whether you're approaching the council and trying to really deal with things. I mean, you're going to find that there's issues and you're going to find ways to deal with it.
Absolutely.
But you've got to have that support group around you and not feel like you're alone in what you're doing. And something else that I always talk about in my talks and I always try to stress with people is to remove stake in the outcome of what you're doing. You know, stop focusing on this terrible future that's coming because, hey, this is a limited hangout. Your life is a short experience. You know, you're here for a breath. And if you're constantly focused on this fearful future, it's creating all these things in your now, in this present moment. Absolutely. And you're in your mind, you're lost in your mind. Right now, you can do things that make a difference. And if you've got that support group around you, you're going to be able to do it. So that's what Full Circle Project's about. And that's why I've stepped away from it. Because like I even said in the talk, too many people want leaders. You know, Max has got the Full Circle project, so we can all join and hold Max's coat for him while he leads us to safety. It's not about that. You've got to be prepared to lead yourself. I can't fix your community, but you can. Absolutely. If you've got that support group around you, you're going to find there's other people in your community that are awake and aware and feel the same way you do. So reach out to them. Reach out and make a difference on the ground where you live. That's what it's about. Bring mankind full circle back to our natural state of abundance, which is what we've been taken from. Because this is an abundant... We live in the Garden of Eden, for God's sake, we do. Whether you believe in the Bible or not. We live in a planet that can sustain an incredible life. Whatever it is, this realm we live in, it can sustain incredible life. It's got everything we need right here, and we're ignoring that. So our natural state is a state of abundance. There's food growing all around us. And we can't have it because we have to collect paper in order to go and get the food that's everywhere all around us. Yeah. It's ridiculous. So let's bring it all back to a state of abundance and create these support groups and get involved. Get involved on the ground. You know, don't just listen to the radio shows and consume the products of the truth and freedom movement. Get involved on the ground. That's what I was saying. Even if you come to these talks, don't think you've made a difference by coming here. You haven't. You only make a difference when you take the information home and start applying it to your world. Absolutely. That's when you start making a difference.
I really appreciate that sentiment. And I want to invite you to check out freedomcells.org when you get a chance. You'll see the similarity between our ideas, and hopefully, you know, like the message is resonating, because that's really been an underpinning of my work as well. Like, don't just sit here and watch me on YouTube or whatever. That's not the goal. The goal is to motivate you to do something, to get involved, to start a cell, to start a circle, whatever you want to call it, to get involved, meet people locally, and start building the world that we want to see. I very much appreciate your time. Where can people find your work? What's the easiest place to get in touch with you or find your stuff?
TheCrowhouse.com is my website. You'll find links to my YouTube channel and everything. It's all there. TheCrowhouse.com.
Awesome.
It's everything on there is free. There's nothing to subscribe. There's no user section. Everything I've ever put out there, all the films I've made, everything I've put out there for free, because I want people to know that I don't do this for money. And money's fiction anyway, you know, we don't need it. If you give to people, you'll find the universe will look after you. So absolutely, put money out of the equation and just throw yourself to the wind, because when you do, you can ride it. But yeah, thecrowhouse.com.
Thank you so much for your work, brother. Appreciate it.